Hello, everyone, and welcome to Developing Palates. I am Aaron Loomis, and with me, as always, is June Liu. How you doing, June?
Good.
So today we are talking about the AJ Fernandez Bellas Artes short Churchill, and this is 6 inches by 48 ring gauge, and this comes out of the Tabacalera Fernandez factory in Nicaragua. Wrapper is listed as proprietary hybrid Rojita. And that is a mix of about 50% U.S. Connecticut Shade, 25% Corojo 99, and 25% Havana 2000. Um, Binder is listed as, I'm going to butcher this, Kailali? Kailali? I don't know.
Sounds
And
right.
is that right? Okay. And the filler is Nicaraguan, Honduran, and Brazilian, and blended by AJ Fernandez. Price point on this cigar is $8.25, and this was released in July of 2016. So with that being said, let's get into our pre-light experience. So June, what was your pre-light experience like?
I thought that the actual wrapper I thought it was absolutely flawless. It had almost like a caramel kind of a shade to it. Even though you could see the veins on the wrapper when you touch it with your fingers, you cannot notice at all. You can't feel the veins. You can't feel the seams. It was just silky smooth. Um, and then when I kind of did like the pinch test to kind of see how the bunching and roll felt, thought that it had a nice firm uniform give to it. Uh, and my head had I guess a not so traditional double cap to it, which is fine because it was pretty thick, layered into that wrapper on the top cell. Everything kind of pointed out to the fact that I shouldn't have any construction issues when I'm smoking it. So going into the pre-light aromas, the wrapper got some cedar and some flowery perfume. Foot, I got some white pepper, sharp cedar, like a dry roasted nuttiness. And then when I did the cold draw, it's like a creamy, dry roasted nuts, and I got some dry, earthy minerality. So all in all, pretty good pre-light experience.
Yeah, wrapper medium brown. There was a few veins present. Seams were visible, but they were very smooth. Uh, like you said, two caps. The top cap was a little wrinkly, but the bottom cap was very nicely placed on the cigar. It's got a box press to it. There's two bands. The first one has the name of the cigar on it, and the second is a strip band that says AJ Fernandez. And people are probably going to start seeing this band quite a bit because it's on some other cigars that AJ works on, especially the Hoyo La Amistad.
Mhm.
So there might be some more coming out in the near future that have that same band that he's a part of for other companies. Um, Primary colors of both bands are gold and red, so it's kind of a nice color that goes well with the cigar's wrapper. Aroma from the wrapper was barnyard white pepper. The aroma that I got from the foot was like a lightly sweet hay. And pre-light draw was light graham cracker, and I was getting a fairly decent spicy tingle on my lips as well from it. So getting into flavor, first third to final third, what was your experience like?
Um, so based upon just first draw, I got a very distinctive cayenne kind of a spice to it. Typically, what I get in terms of spice is your traditional, white pepper, dry pepper, or some variant of both of those.
Hmm.
Um, but it was really interesting. I got cayenne out of this. It was a very distinctive cayenne for me. And along with that kind of cayenne pepper note, I got the heat that's associated with it.
Hmm.
So that weighed on my palate and on my tongue as well. So in addition to that cayenne pepper, I got leather, a little bit of sweetness, dry earth, slight dry roasted nuttiness, and some intermittent coffee with cream kind of came in and out. Through the retro, very pungent, stinging cayenne pepper and dry wood, and the finish, dry wood, faint dry roasted nuts. Within body, I thought it was medium the whole way through the first third. Um, medium plus on the strength aspect of it, starting kind of from the middle of the first third. Moving on to the second third, it kind of continued with the first third's primary notes. Still got that cayenne spice and heat, leather, dry earth, faint dry roastiness. Um, Fortunately, and a favorable thing of the once intermittent coffee and cream was more of a consistent note. I absolutely love that coffee note of any variant of coffee and cigars. So I was glad that came to stay. And I also felt like the profile became sweeter and creamier, but it still wasn't, as sweet and creamy that, that was, certainly not overbearing. And certainly that cayenne pepper was still the dominating factor over the sweetness. So through the retro, still got a lot of pungent stinging cayenne, dry wood finish still. Dry woods, slight cayenne, faint dry roasted nuttiness. Body still was at a medium, and strength was still medium full. Lastly, moving into the last third, it kind of stayed in pace with the second third. Still very cayenne spice that's dominating the profile, but this time I kind of sensed like a slick oiliness to it, so it gave it like a little nice oily. Kind of a dimension to it, which was nice. So in conjunction to that spice, still leather, dry earth, medium sweetness, and that faint dry roasted nuttiness. Unfortunately, within the last third, I no longer tasted the coffee and cream. It became more of a spice and wood dominant profile. And the retro was still giving me that pungent cayenne and the dry wood. And then finish lingering with dry wood, slight cayenne, and a little bit of that dry roast nuttiness. So overall, I mean, very spice forward blend, and that's balanced by a lot of dry woodiness and different levels of sweetness and creaminess that came in and out were the main three notes, spectrum of notes that I got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, initial draws for me brought like an interesting combination of sweet, creamy, and peppery components. The retro hail also had a good pepper zing to it that I was getting through the nostrils. The cigar burned really quickly at the beginning, so I was like at the quarter-inch mark pretty quick, and I was still trying to figure out the flavors at that point. So it was just moving along, and I just felt like I couldn't really keep up with what was going on. But I started get some bread and wood with a little bit of a pepper finish, and the retrohale was still carrying a pretty substantial pepper note to it. 3/4 of an inch in, there were pockets of like nice sweetness, which I'm kind of attributing to the bread that were showing up from time to time. The woodiness and the pepper were still there, and a little bit of cream came back in as well. The pepper had a very long finish on it too, so like after you got done drawing on it, you just really still tasted it in between the draws. At an inch in, retrohale settled down with the pepper, and the breadiness took over as the dominant note there. Inch and a half in, the profile is pretty much wood and bread, still with that pepper finish, and that's kind of how the first third finished, and the strength level there was medium full. Second third, the bread was up front and the wood was in the background. It was also a slight pepper finish. Retrohale was light oak. 1/4 inch in, the wood transitioned to a definitive oak flavor, and that moved up front with the bread then moving into the background. And then 1/2 inch in, the bread increased out to be even with the oak. The retrohale was very bready at that point. And then at an inch in, the mouth flavor and the retrohale were both kind of an even mix of that oak and that bread. And then 1.5 inches in, the oak and the bread, they kept jockeying for position to determine which one was going to be dominant. And that was kind of changing up on each draw. But then as the third came to a finish, the oak is what kind of came up front. And the strength was still at medium full at that point. Final third, there was some bitterness that came in and joined the oak. And then at a 1/4 inch in, the bitterness faded back with the oak coming back up front. The retrohale was creamy oak. And then at 1/2 inch in, the bitterness was really just on the finish, with some of the cream coming back in to mix with the oak. And then at an inch in, the bitterness came back and it pushed the cream out. And that's kind of how the cigar finished out. But the strength had went up to completely full, not like blasting my face off full, but it was an increase over that medium full that I had been getting from the previous 2/3. So getting into performance, burn and draw, what was your experience like?
Thought the burn was good. My singular example that I smoked had a lot of smoke production. After you draw and you put on your ashtray, that thing just goes, which is pretty awesome to just look at, I guess.
Yeah.
The total smoking time of 2 hours and 45 minutes, which is pretty good, very good actually. The actual burn line was pretty uneven for the most of the cigar, but the important thing is I never had to relight it or do any of a touch up. But I
Mhm.
always felt like the wrapper was trying to catch up to the rest of the leaves when it was trying to burn.
Right.
Um, Ashes slightly flaky, some portion of it falling on the floor, so it was a very solid ashes, but overall it fell off in 1 inch increments. But based upon the fact that I never had to do any touch up or relights in general, it's a good burn.
Mhm.
And the draw was the miss for me. Was a big miss for me for this cigar overall. It was way too loose. So in the beginning, when I was drawing on it, um, the cigar burned really fast, and then I realized it. I think I went through the first third in like probably, gosh, 10, 15 minutes, if
Right.
that. And then I also realized that it got pretty bitter. My assumption is the cigar has so much of an air funnel going through it that it overheated, and I tasted a decent amount of bitterness that got associated with it.
Mhm.
Um, but when I then decided to slow down my pulse, like really, really slow.
Right.
Um, so when I started doing that, the profile opened up, and then I could actually taste what the cigar was all about.
Mhm.
So I put it as something as a draw being a subpar. It's definitely something that I had to keep a close eye on throughout the entire time.
Mhm.
Um, so if you get this cigar, and if you have something this loose, slow down big time just to,
Mhm.
to get everything out of it.
Yeah, the for me there was a decent amount of waviness in the second half of the middle third, but other than that, the burn was very straight for all other portions of it. Ash held on for me in about 1.5 inch segments, and every time the ash dropped, there was a little bit of a cone that was kind of left over. So it was kind of in the middle. It was burning a little bit slower than the rest of the cigar, but other than that, no issues with the burn. The draw was perfect for me. Just how I like it, a little bit of resistance, and it produced a ton of smoke like you were talking about. So can't really say anything bad about the draw on my sample. So overall, what were your thoughts on the cigar?
Um, I, I enjoyed it. I thought it was tasty. I appreciated the fact that I felt like this is one of those cigars where what it has for you is right in that front of your face. Like and it's very distinctive in the way it provides the flavor profile. It's easily recognizable, let's say. So I appreciated that. Um, I I thought that going back to the draw, it really killed it for me. Like I hate paying attention to the construction of a cigar when I'm trying to enjoy it.
Hmm.
Let alone trying to review it. It's more annoying when I'm trying to review it because if I wasn't reviewing it, I probably would have pitched the cigar.
Right.
In general, that's what I do with cigars.
Yeah.
Not just because it's just cigar. So, you know, that was too bad. But it's good. I'm not too sure within like ever since kind of AJ split away from the big discount stores and what he's been coming out with. I'm not really sure where the portfolio fits. Like, originally came out the San Latano. That was like the first quote unquote B&M release, right? Like retail release. And then as he progressed on the Miami, and then he has like the Enclave, and then now, and then our last call, and then now this. Like, I don't really understand the naming convention between all of these. I don't think there's. I'm not saying that there should be some sort of a story, but you know, when I, as a consumer, when I look at another cigar brand, there's usually like a theme that's associated with that brand. And I dig that. It kind of gives me, in a way, going through the journey of the production and what they come out with. Whereas the AJ stuff, I'm like, oh, man, you just went from like Native Americans in the Enclave to Palates. Like, I don't know, but overall, I mean, it was a good cigar. You know, pretty price. You know, it was at a good price. It was like $8.75 a stick or something like that. You said
$8.25 for this one, yeah.
$8.25, yeah, and for $8.25 for this size, you know, it's a good bargain. And that's what AJ is known for. AJ drives a very hard bargain on all their cigars, and this is no different. So,
yeah.
What are you?
For me, the flavors were very dynamic in the first third, but after that, the flavors became pretty linear the rest of the way. I just wish that flavor profile that I got in that first third kind of continued on through the cigar, because that would have made this thing a fantastic cigar. Has excellent performance on my sample, so that's always a plus. I didn't have to babysit it like you did with the draw, but I'd really like to try the cigar in a shorter vitola, just to see if that flavor profile that I was getting in that first third kind of might continue further through the cigar, to see if it's a better overall experience. Strength is up there, so new smokers or people that prefer milder cigars, they might need to know that going in, so they don't kind of blast their face off with some of the strength. But other than that, I mean, if you like fuller strength cigars, this has some good flavors to it. I think it's a must try. And like you said, the price point's pretty good on it, so it's it doesn't hurt the bank to give it a shot. So I definitely say that people should seek these out, give it a try, see if it's something that they want to go for. And I'm definitely gonna do another vitola to see how that kind of translates, to see if there's any change with a shorter length, to see if it helps out a little bit. So getting into scoring, you gave it a 6.27. I gave it a 7.20. How do you think your score matched up with your experience?
I think it matched out well. I rated the thing that matters the most, which is the smoking experience, right? I rated that good all across the board. It got knocked down in the sense of, when it came to just push a little draw, and that factored into my overall. But yeah, I mean, 6 range to me means above average cigar, and that's exactly how I felt. I thought it was above average cigar. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my score matches up well. Great performance helps. The flavors from that first third were fantastic. So that's kind of where it started off, with a little bit of a drop down as the cigar went along from second and third to final third, but still a good cigar. I'd recommend it to people to give it a try, especially if you're an AJ fan and you want to see what else he's doing. This is another good cigar from him. So I think it's definitely something that's worthwhile to try out and see if it fits somebody's profile, and they can explore, checking out all the vitolas and seeing if one of them match up with their profile well. So those are my thoughts. Any final thoughts from you?
No. I mean, I think he kills it with everything that he comes out with anyway, so
yeah,
doesn't really need my reps.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, well, if you're just catching this video on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to us there so you'll get notified every time we put out a new review recap. But also go to the website, developingpalates.com, to read the full written review. And follow us on all the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google+. And thank you for watching, and we will catch you on the next video.